It's going to be individual sessions by 4 dignitaries who are going to be on stage. As the maritime industry grapples with the challenges of decarbonization, India stands tall at the forefront, initiating crucial steps to align with global sustainability objectives. This mini session, ladies and gentlemen, structured on a presentation, speech format, delves into the progress and effectiveness of India's initiatives in meeting decarbonization goals, focusing on the implementation status of green projects aimed at providing sustainable fuels and the associated infrastructure to the shipping sector and the latest technological advancements in developing greener shipping lanes. To discuss on the topic, I would like to invite the dignitaries on stage. Please give a loud round of applause to Mr. P.K. Mishra, Managing Director, Indian Register Shipping. Mr. P.K. Mishra is a highly experienced marine engineer with 30 plus years in the industry. He rose through the ranks at the IRS to become Chief Surveyor, overseeing global operations and vessel inspections. A recognized expert, he has represented India at IMO and received multiple awards for his contributions to maritime safety and environmental protection. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. P.K. Mishra with us. Welcome, sir. No, this is really not a loud applause. Can we have a louder applause, especially after a tea break? All right, moving on to our next guest of the day, Mr. Dhruv Taneja, founder and CEO, MatchLog Solutions Private Limited. Mr. Taneja is an experienced business promoter with a demonstrated history of working in the logistics and supply chain industry. Skilled in negotiation, business planning, operations management, market research, and management, he's a strong professional with an ability to build empowered teams. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dhruv Taneja joining us today. Welcome, sir. And now it's my pleasure to welcome a lady on stage. Let's welcome Dr. Priyali Das, Associate Director, Pyrolytic Biofuels, Biochar and Green Chemicals. Dr. Priyali Das is a senior expert in pyrolysis and gasification at TERI with over 15 years of experience. She holds a PhD in Energy Systems Engineering and has postdoctoral research experience. Her work focuses on developing biofuels, biochar, and green chemical technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a loud round of applause for Dr. Priyali Das joining us today. Welcome, ma'am. Moving on to our next guest on stage, Mr. Dipin Kayat, Senior Director of Operations and Engineering, DP World, Cochin. Dipin bringing over 20 years of extensive experience in the logistics industry and expertise encompasses beneficial cargo owners, shipping lines, rail terminals, and seaport terminals. He has a proven track record at companies like Maersk, Toyota Oman, and DP World. Dipin is a seasoned professional in the field. He has completed various courses in leadership, management, and engineering from Rotterdam School of Management. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Dipin Kayat on stage. Welcome, Mr. Dipin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we shall start with the first presentation. May I invite Mr. P.K. Mishra, Managing Director, Indian Register Shipping, to talk about this topic.
Yeah, good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we'll discuss about India's readiness to meet the decarbonization goal. This is all basically coming from the Paris climate goal, and which was that like 1 point, not to limit the global warming to 1.5 degree above pre-industrial level by 2030. Even IMO is UN body and it makes regulatory measures for the shipping. And as far as if you see shipping, like international shipping, only 3.5% GHG emission happens due to international shipping. If you look at, basically shipping was the first, because IMO was the first one to introduce mandatory regulation for shipping. And this all started way back in 2011, but basically the first mandatory measures came in 2013, and that was EEDI and SIM. And I'm not going to go through full, you can see the details, but in 2018, IMO initial strategy was adopted. That was to be reviewed after 5 years. So in 2023, basically, IMO revised GHG strategy came in force, and 2023 even EXI came for vessel above 400 GT, and CII came for the vessel above 5,000 GT. And as per revised basically IMO strategy, there are certain cardinal targets have been kept, targets for 2030, targets for 2040, and it was decided that shipping will reach net zero GHG emission by 2050. If you see this, here it gives clearly by 2030, 25% of GHG reduction has to be achieved, and effort should be made to get 30% reduction. If you look at the CO2, reduction of CO2 emission per transport work by at least 40% compared to 2008 level. And this was India's contribution, that we said that uptake of zero or near zero GHG emission should be 5%, or striving for 10% by 2030. If you look at 2040 targets, it is 70% GHG reduction and aiming for 80% reduction. And at 2050, it is net zero target was there. And if you look at the measures, short-term measures were there starting from 18 to 23, and mid-term measures were there from 23 to 30. Short-term measures like whatever EEDI for new ship, then after that basically EXI, which is applicable for all ship, CII, which is applicable for ship above 5,000 GT and above. Mid-term measures is basically coming to zero or near zero CO2 emission fuel and market-based measures. If you look at the long-term measures, which is beyond basically 2030, then again, like there has to be innovative technology, there has to be market-based measure, and there has to be basically zero emission fuel. This is basically where saving can come from. This chart indicates that if you basically go to hydrogen fuel, 80 to 100% saving can come. If you go to biofuel, third generation, that is 90% basically emission reduction can come. If you go to full electric, 50 to 90% reduction can come. And if you go for basically Mavis duct and basically this propeller cap, etc., so 5 to 15% reduction can come. This is MIV 2030, where 10-year basically blueprint was given, and there it was committed that we will have around 60% of energy use will be the renewable energy. If you look at it, National Action Plan for Green Shipping, so there has to be green ship, there has to be green ports, green fuels, green technology, green finance, green collaboration, green recycling, and green regulation, and green reporting. India's commitment is that we want to be net zero by 2070, but shipping commitment is to net zero by 2050. If you look at challenges, there are regulatory framework, is still not ready, it is evolving. There are dependency on fossil fuel, there are basically infrastructure limitations are there, and technology is still evolving, not yet ready. If you look at opportunities, there are basically enough potential for renewable energy is there in India, because there is a wind, there is a water, there is a solar, and this can be utilized, to making the cell and basically running the electric powered vessels. Government has taken a lot of initiatives such as Sagarmala, Harish Sagar projects. There are research and development is being done, and TERI will maybe throw some light on that. There are various international collaboration is there. That is, India is basically lead country for GLOMIP and basically for Green Voice 2050. Strategy means we have to have a capacity building, we have to have fuel switching from fossil to basically zero or net zero fuel, then there has to be efficiency improvement, and there has to be basically public policy support and infrastructure development. What has been done in 2030, Green Tech Transition Program was announced by our basically Honorable Waterways Minister, Sri Sonowal ji, and that there it was decided that initial green tugs will start working in all major ports by 2025. And if you look at it, 2030, at least 50% of tug will be green tug. Haris Sagar, that is green port guidelines, that is already has come out and it is being worked upon. If you see the Haris Sagar, it is addressing to green port infrastructure. There has to be green cover. There has to be electrification of port equipments. Port craft has to be green. Renewable energy has to be used very frequently. And there has to be arrangement to provide solar power. And basically, all this resource utilization has to be proper. And there has to be basically incentive measures also to support the green shipping and green ports. If you look at it, Harit Nauka, this is initiative for inland waterways. And this was inaugurated in first meeting, which was IWDC meeting, which was held at 8th of January 24. And as a pilot development, CSL has already produced hydrogen fuel cell based basically vessel, and which is now deployed in Varanasi. And for that, 75% of project funding was basically done by the Ministry of Port and Shipping and Waterways. As far as electric catamaran is there, 2 electric catamaran has been already developed. One is in Varanasi and one is Ayodhya, and 4 more are in pipeline. As already conveyed that India is basically lead country for GLOMIP and Green Voyage 2050. If you look at the international shipping, this gives the basically breakup of international shipping, which is above 5,000 GT tonnage. And unfortunately, only 54% ship has rating A, B, and C. If rating is D for continuous 3 years, then also basically IIPP SOC cannot be issued, or basically E for 1 year, then also SOC and IIPP cannot be issued. So basically, those companies has to give corrective measures so that SOC IIPP as applicable can be issued. So there is a huge work there, and this CII rating reduction factor is increasing, so this CII rating will maybe even go worse for the D and E, those who are falling in D and E category. So there is a lot of work involved there. Why CII performance is basically low for the ship? Because voyages are short, anchorage time is long, waiting time at port is very long, vessels are smaller, less cargo carrying capacity is there, and there are ships, age profile is more, older ships are there, outdated technologies and design is there, maintenance is poor, and basically ships are not ready to optimize their speed and routes. And ship needs to switch over to green fuel. At least they can switch over if depending on availability on biofuels or other things what is being experimented now. Maybe battery and maybe smaller other basically hydrogen fuel, etc. These are the basically lists of alternate fuels and technology. To name few, methanol, ethanol, ammonia, hydrogen, etc. is there. LNG is basically mid-term fuel. And as far as technology is concerned, then onboard carbon capture is there, wind-assisted propulsion, etc. is there. So we have to use the combination of alternative fuel and alternative technologies. And that is the only way forward. Research has to be promoted because the timeline is not very this thing. It's only 2050. We have to meet the net zero. So obviously technology has to be created, incubation center has to be there, and we have to basically create a skill also. We have to train our people and workforce so that they can man these kind of ships which will be running on alternate fuel, or where there is alternate technology such as carbon capture and usage is being used. For alternate fuel, there has to be ecosystem has to be developed. This was the joint industry project. It has happened in your basically Cochin shipyard, and this is electric hybrid 100 packs water metro ferries. It was a project for Cochin water metro, and I think it is echoing worldwide, this kind of concept. So it is a very good project, joint project, and this is under Indian Register of Shipping classification only. If you look at it, this is, we have earlier also discussed hydrogen fuel cell powered ship. It was inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister on 28th of February 2024. And currently it is deployed at Varanasi. And this also has been designed and constructed as per IRS guidelines, vessel with fuel cell power installation. To conclude, there is technology innovation is happening to drive decarbonization, and there is a transition towards a more sustainable future. The only way forward is digitalization and smart shipping. And it offers numerous opportunities to enhance energy efficiency and reduce emission in maritime industry. And IRS is not only a regulatory body, it is here to support you in all your endeavors for green shipping or for green ports, for any matter, we are there to support you in your endeavors. And we have basically rules and guidelines with respect to alternate fuel, with respect to other measures also. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. P.K. Mishra. We will take any questions for him towards the end of all sessions. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Dhruv Taneja, founder and CEO, MatchLog Solutions Private Limited, for his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, all. It's always good to see like-minded individuals from our industry. I would like to thank Mr. Mishra to start with for giving us a very elaborate overview of what India plans to do on our decarbonization goals and the routes that have been offered to us. I had prepared a couple of slides to show, but I think Mr. Mishra has done a far superior job. So to avoid duplication, I will move on to one of the solutions that we as MatchLog have developed and talk to you about the next solution that we have over the next couple of minutes. This is something which Mr. Mishra had covered very well, and thank you once again, Mr. Mishra, for this. We are present on the land side of logistics. The entire onus of the carbon emissions through the trucking industry has been talked about a lot of late. Unfortunately, we are a large contributor to this emission in the global shipping industry. To eliminate carbon emissions or to avoid carbon emissions or to reduce carbon emissions, we thought let us give it a shot. And in 2019, MatchLog was formed. MatchLog is formed by 4 of us. My name is Dhruv Taneja. I'm the founder and CEO of MatchLog. Prior to which I ran empty container yards, and I know most of you from there. We have Abhishek Baheti, who was with Step Logistics, funded by Adani Group, and then he joined us. And we have Harsh and Manish as the founding team. We are trying to eliminate dry runs that emerge in our industry. And that is, I feel, a very, very big problem that can be avoided. What we do is we are a global platform. We offer optimization for container assets. I'll walk you through in a couple of minutes. We are entirely tech-based, so there is no manual intervention in our process. And of course, we are from the industry and we run it professionally. Basically, we match import containers with export containers. We have 3 clusters where we optimize these containers. We have 1 cluster in Morbi, we have 1 cluster in Vapi, and we have 1 cluster in Pune. So currently, we are doing this for global shipping lines such as MSC, Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, CMA CGM. So any transporter taking an import container from Mundra, going into, say, Rajkot or a cluster around Rajkot, we offer an instant matchback with an export container. This eliminates the entire journey from that importer's factory back to an empty depot in Mundra. Similarly, for exports, instead of picking up a container from Mundra and taking it empty to Rajkot or to Morbi, we offer them ready inventory in Morbi, or we offer them a matchback in Morbi itself. This eliminates the entire carbon emissions in the dry run after the import has been destuffed and before the export is stuffed. On an average, 400 grams per kilometer per ton is emitted by our vehicles in this regard. We are eliminating the entire emission. The biggest stakeholders are on board with this. We've been doing it for 5 years. Our tech platform includes Stinder, not to be mistaken with Tinder. I see a lot of smiles across the room. But yes, we are a matchback or a matching platform for TUs and FEUs in our industry. We have, of course, a transport management system. We have a CASA system, which is a container assessment and survey app, which is entirely digital. And of course, we have our MISTI networks, which are MatchLog integrated street turn yards. This is where we reuse the container, and currently there are 3 functional in Morbi, in Vapi, and in Pune. Currently, we're doing around 4,000 containers every single month of reuse. We are reducing a lot of carbon emissions in this regard. Our platform is entirely tech-enabled. We show you how much carbon you have avoided. We show how much fuel you have saved. We show how much kilometers also that you have saved. On the right side is a live snapshot of reuse we have done for ONE line, where the importer's factory, it's come back to the MISTI yard. We matched it with an export, and it's gone back to the port for an export sailing. Of course, we have the TMS platform, which all of us can use. This is an entirely digital platform where you can track and trace your box. Basically, the TMS feeds into our Stinder platform, and this is how the supply comes into our database, and we match it with the demand which transporters give us. A lot of shipping lines have also started sharing their store door business with us in terms of where they're doing boxes, and this enables a higher reuse ratio. In the world today, there are 3 other platforms which do reuse, which is Matchbox and Aventida. I'm really happy to share that an Indian company like ours, MatchLog, we have the highest reuse ratio in this part of the world. We are at 25% for every import. We match 25% on the export. The global average is 6%. This is a map of the MISTI that we have. This is a typical cycle where the import comes in, gets destuffed, and instead of going back to an empty depot, we take it to a MISTI yard. We close the export cycle. We do a typical cleaning, washing at the MISTI, and we map it directly with an export booking. This can be done for coastal boxes as well, but currently the solution is only for EXIM. I spoke about the container assessment and survey app, again, entirely digital. OCR-based, captures the gross weight, tear weight, container numbers, fed into a system, captures the damage, so there's no dispute later on, and it's widely used across the industry. The main summary before I conclude. So far, in 5 years, we have facilitated a movement of 150,000 containers, and really glad to share that we have optimized close to 35,000 containers in the past 3 years, where we've been more active, and we have saved 41,000 tons of carbon emission. I think this is something spectacular that I'm very glad that our industry is contributing to. In terms of the future plans of India's readiness towards decarbonization, we are enabling EV trucks, and we will go live with this project in 2025. We have also partnered with Green Jewels, which is a biofuel company, and also something that we're looking forward to. The future plan is to be a darker shade of green. Let's reuse it. Let's matchlog it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dhruv Taneja. That was a lot of green. That looks really cool. Thank you so much. Let's move on to our next speaker of the day, Mr. Dipin Kayyata, Senior Director of Operations and Engineering, DP World Cochin. Over to you, Mr. Dipin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dipin, Senior Director of Operations and Engineering at DP World Cochin. I'm excited today to be given this opportunity to present the DP World strategy for decarbonization and its strong alignment with India's own plan for decarbonization. So let's now look at our global network as DP World and its impact in supply chain. We operate in 76 plus countries. We employ more than 1 lakh people across. We have 92 million TUs in installed capacity and a capital employed of about 37 billion. We operate more than 295 business units in 76 plus countries. Through this network of ours, we touch about 10% of the global trade, which moves. So that's the impact which DP World has on the cargo which is moving across the world. Now looking at our presence in India, we have a very strong and growing presence in India. We started about 3 decades back as a port terminal operator, as a single unit in Nasheva. Post that, now we have grown, and we operate now 6 container port terminals. We operate 5 CFSs, 8 inland rail terminals, 90 plus rakes. We have 3 freight trade warehousing zones, and 100 plus express cargo centers, and about 5 million plus square feet of warehouse space. Now, from a pure port operator, we have a presence which is across the logistics field. We also provide services like freight forwarding, trade finance, NVOCCs and feeder services, and also a digital platform which will encompass all our services. So we are the only provider today who's there in 3 major ports with an EXIM share of about 25%. And we are a multimodal logistics provider with the ability to design and deliver standard as well as bespoke multimodal solutions. We have a hard-to-replicate asset and services portfolio, which was developed over 3 decades. So anything which DP World does today has a significant impact on the carbon emissions. So now let's talk about the India's roadmap for and vision towards decarbonization. India has made a very bold commitment towards decarbonization. And its commitment is unwavering, and it is very high when you consider that it's a developing nation. And its journey towards decarbonization is guided by Panchamrit, which is a 5-pronged strategy or a 5 major action plan, in which about most of it will be delivered by 2030. So India is looking at having a 500 gigawatt non-fossil energy capacity, a 50% energy from renewable resources, a reduction in carbon emissions by 1 billion tons, and reduce the carbon intensity by 45%. All this by 2030. And we are also looking at net zero by about 2070. The Maritime India Vision 2030 and the Green Port Guidelines which have been formulated, they give the maritime sector the strength. It basically looks at strengthening the maritime sector through focused, sustainable interventions. The role which a port plays in India achieving its net zero target is very high. And the guidelines for the same has already been put forward by the government through the Harit Sagar or the Green Port initiatives. These basically talk about interventions which promote renewable energy usage. It talks about reuse, recycle, etc., reducing air emissions. It talks about optimizing the water usage, improving the solid waste management, and also reducing the carbon intensity. Now that's India's roadmap and vision towards decarbonization. Now let's look at DP World's decarbonization strategy. If you look at it, most of the areas which is covered in the Harit Sagar and what applies to the ports and terminals, DP World is already doing it, or is in the process to become more greener. So it is built around 5 pillars for DP World. One is equipment electrification efficiency, that is new equipment, as well as getting the old equipment electrified. We're looking at process and efficiency and digitalization of things. We're also looking at renewable energy supply. We are looking at low carbon fuel alternatives. And we're also looking at carbon compensation, where we are not able to replace carbon. Now coming to the DP World's decarbonization strategy in India, which is aligned with our global strategy as well. So the number one is net zero. So DP World has set a target of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. And there's also an intermediate target of a 50% reduction in emissions at our ports by 2030. The next is renewable energy. So DP World powers our Nhava terminals with 11 megawatt green energy, which will basically, replace 75% of the conventional energy which is used in our NSICT terminal and 80% in our NSIGT terminal. And this will contribute to an emission reduction of 50%. So we're almost there in the Nhava terminal. Additionally, we have also installed capacities of about 7,500 kilowatt solar capacity across our business units. The next thing is equipment electrification. All new yard equipments like your RTGCs now electrified, which are bought new, and as well as we are looking at all the old diesel to be electrified. So at our DP World Cochin, the 4 new yard cranes are electric. 15 of our existing yard cranes have been converted to electric. So all our RTGs or the yard cranes are now electric. We have similar in Mundra, and we are doing that in other ports and terminals which DP World operates in India. Our key cranes are all electric now. The recent purchases at MICT and DP World at Cochin are all electric. Our rail-mounted gantry cranes, which we have purchased recently, are all electric. And we are targeting that 100% of our RTG yard equipment will be electric so that it reduces the carbon footprint. So now coming to the next part, which is the DP World Green Logistics Tool. This is a carbon footprint calculator which has been developed by DP World. The users or the customers can input their shipment details into this tool and basically understand what is the carbon footprint of that particular route. This basically helps them in having insight and make decisions based on what they want to achieve as far as the eco-friendly move of shipment goes. The next is process efficiency. We also done a audit energy audit of all our ports and terminals, and we are looking at opportunities for improvement and implementation of energy saving measures across our portfolio. So other than these 5 pillars, as DP World, we are also partnering with many like-minded organizations. So if you look at the container handling equipment across the world, they emit about 10 to 15 million tons of carbon dioxide every year. So DP World, along with APM Terminals, has formed an alliance known as Zero Emission Port Alliance. Basically, this cooperation or alliance seeks to make battery electric container handling equipment affordable, accessible, and attractive. What this alliance will do is basically give the OEMs or the manufacturers the confidence about the demand which will be there in the terminal operators for electric equipment. It'll basically design standards so that there is interoperability and compatibility. There will be a technical checklist which is being prepared for ports which will plan to go for electrification. So it will provide a roadmap for ports which are going for electrification. There will also be toolkits and best practices which will help the governments prepare or introduce incentives for people or for organizations which are going the green way. And that's what ZIPA is doing. The next one is a DP World's partnership with Maersk McKinney Moller Center for Zero Carbon Shipping. It basically advances the decarbonization of the maritime industry through collaboration. And the next one is eFast India. So 71% of the freight today is moved by road, and which contributes to about 34% of our emissions. So eFast India is a partnership or a platform which is bringing together government stakeholders and private sector companies. It brings together logistics platforms, it brings together OEMs, it brings together charging networks, so that they can discuss and shape and implement strategies which will electrify the movement of car or freight across India. DP World is also a principal pathway partner for COP28. And another initiative which DP World has done is basically the move to -15, or Move 15, it's called. So basically the seafood or the major frozen food is basically moving at about -18 degrees. So it was found through extensive studies that with today's technology, even if you move the cargo at 15 degrees, it is still okay. And this will basically cut greenhouse gases to about 5 terawatt hours. And what I would also want to say is that DP World as an organization is fully prepared to contribute to India's decarbonization plan with a robust decarbonization strategy and initiative of our own. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dipin. We sincerely wish that you reach that zero emissions by 2050, if not earlier than that. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a loud round of applause for Mr. Dipin Kayat? I would now like to invite Dr. Priyali Das, Associate Director, Pyrolytic Biofuels, Biochar and Green Chemicals, for a presentation. Ma'am, I hope it'll be real quick as we are running short of time. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So very good afternoon, all of you. And first of all, my deepest appreciation and gratitude to the C-Trade for inviting us for this, to present our views. So today I will not talk as a scientist from TERI, and like that pyrolytic biofuel and all. So I will represent more NCO eGPS, which is a center which has been, I can change it, right? Yeah. So here I will represent more NCOE GPS, which is formed last year under the Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways as a center which will provide the policy and regulatory support to develop the framework for alternative technology adoption, moving towards the green shipping and green port development, and with carbon neutrality and circularity concept. So making basically will be the, you can say the TERI is a knowledge partner, this NCOE GPS, this center, for implementation and making it happen that this green transition happen. So I'll represent more that, and our views will be more towards that, how we are contributing through this center. So since it is the decarbonization, so there are many components, but I'll restrict more to the green fuel components, like how the green fuel can help in decarbonizing, because it's a very vast area and there are many ways we are, we just listened to all the previous speaker. So I will restrict only to the green fuel, how the combination of the fuel, what are the prospects for India, and to move towards those IMO set targets, and in a time and maybe before time. So that I will just try to project more. So under this green fuel project, there are 6 projects already we have started under NCOA GPS. This green fuel project talks about not the biofuel as such. As we know, there are the 2 kinds of fuels for the shipping, green shipping we are considering. One is the biofuel, where it is mostly the biodiesel or the other ethanol and some which can be blended, and where the engine don't need to be changed, the main propulsion and all. So I am talking more about the future fuels, where the engine has to change and we can't go ahead with the same engine. It can be in different mode, it can be dual fuel and other modes, but it needs more investment because the fuel is completely different in nature, and I will talk about most on the hydrogen derivatives fuels like hydrogen, ammonia, methanol, and so on and so forth. So under that, there are different components. Again, as I said, that these fuels are very different. But if we look at the global transition, so it is very fastly moving with some of those fuels, and it is completely different in physical and chemical nature. So it needs a lot of even skilling, handling those kind of fuels, because it has a lot of lot of fuels are very, I can say that toxicity is there, and even like for ammonia, and also even the interim guidelines are not yet come. So we have to be very careful, but there are other benefits also. So when we talk about this fuel, so how it can help decarbonizing, also keeping the target of those IMO guidelines with those timelines as a developing countries with our developments, lot of development programs. So this not only needs the fuel, also it needs the IC engine, or if we go through the fuel cell, which development is little slowly it is happening, and for the smaller vessels it is happening. So those technologies, and then also how we can have the supply chain set up for this, all these kind of fuels, and which works for India. So all this actually works out and very important component. So we are looking at all these steps to make those fuels available and in a scale which can really help the transition to happen. So these, Dr. Mishra already, he started with these figures, but I will again, because this is everything about these green fuels. So these data we have to really be be always in front of us, because we can't, any development and any investment should happen keeping this in mind. So to be very precise here, so as we know that our net zero target is towards 2050, but and these are already my previous speakers has told, but I will take you to one of the there are few measures are there to reach to these goals, but I will take you to this the table which is talking about this GFI requirements. So this terminology is very important today. So this GFI is like, so far we used to talk only about the CO2 emissions from the fuels and all. So now it is of paramount importance to understand this GFI requirement of the fuels. This is the overall greenhouse gas emission of the emission fuel intensity of any of these fuels, where we are also taking care of the overall sustainability parameters based on the LCA. So there are two kinds of options. One is we can go from tank to well, like we have put the fuel into the tank of the vessel, and then from there to well, and then we can go from well to wake. So well to wake actually basically taking care of the overall value chain, what is the emission. So that makes more sense from that perspective, so that all the emission, GHG emission from the fuel production to the combustion of that fuel, everything is taken care. So today's all these guidelines and targets are have to meet this. So where we stand today, so if we look at this even well to wake, so this value, so as a developing countries, even our all these discussions are as a developing country, so we should be complying more to the base at this moment, base trajectory. So what are the values? So 2030 we have to achieve whatever amount of fuel we use in different kind of, if we take only the overseas going vessels and next to the coastal and all, so we have to achieve this 70 GFI value. So we have to be selective of the fuels, looking at the total kind of fuel consumption in different category of the vessels, looking that we have to meet this 70. So if we go, there are different mechanisms being discussed. So maybe some of the vessels we are using some kind of fuel where the GFI is met, it is below 70. So then we can get some kind of credits. So surplus credits, so which we can use in some of the vessels if are under compliance. So those vessels maybe we are going forward and there maybe retrofitting will be much costlier or not possible because of the age of the vessels. So in those cases, if it is under compliance, so this credit can be used for balancing out to those vessels where we can't at this moment immediately go for the greener fuels. But there are, it is not so straightforward as I'm telling. So there are a lot of whether where these credits will be actually buying and where this trading will happen between the companies, or it will be with the IMO with some price tag. So those are discussions are happening. But the thing is, bottom of the fact is we have to really be careful about this 2030, 2040 and 2050, almost like we have to reach to GFI 1.7. So from the environmental perspective, it is very good, but how to achieve and where those fuels are there today. So this is just to give, I'll just run through this. So this is just to understand that the fuels we are talking about today for these green fuels, which is this hydrogen-derived fuels. So all these fuels, I'll just only go to one, there are different parameters, and I'm still not going to any chemical parameters because it is too deep. So I'm only going for the physical parameters. So we can see even since these fuels are different kind of heating value, different kind of density and properties, even they are not all liquid in the room temperature. So some needs the cryogenic kind of storage. All this adds to the the cost of these fuels, handling of these fuels and all other safety concerns. But even the fuel tank capacity, the moment we want to, if we compare with the HFO, so if it is 1 ton of HFO, we compare the same amount of energy. So if we go for the methanol, we have to, the tank size of the fuel has to be 2.5 times or 2.4 times. In case of ammonia, it will be 3 times. So these all will contribute to the design of the vessels and everything actually. So with this at the background, so this is, I am showing how the world is moving. So with respect to this alternate fuel, so this we have captured almost globally all the data, more than 1,15,000 data we have analyzed. And the crux of this is in, I'm focusing because of the paucity of time, focusing more on the which is on the order book on the right side. So in service today, we all know that we have a kind of feeling that biofuel is the option, which is the where we are not changing the engine also. So biodiesel is actually leading with this as a option to be blended with the diesel and to use. But if we see the order book towards 27, so there we can see that, and this data is from this July 2024. So there the methanol has topped where it was in 4th, and the biofuel is actually coming down in the list. The only one of the reason is the fuel supply chain. Like even you know this, it has got disrupted even in the Europe heavily because of this biodiesel supply chain. Another which can be very significant for India, the feedstock which today primarily for the biodiesel we use, used cooking oil and all the non-edible oils. So because of the same kind of challenges in the aviation side, they are also to make this sustainable aviation fuel. India is having only 2 options, major option, HEFA process which needs this same fuel. Another is the alcohol, 2G ethanol. So there also will be a direct competition with that. So how much biodiesel will be available even for India? Even we go ahead and make some kind of feasibility, but that biofuel still it is having that carbon and hydrogen almost like a diesel. So in the longer run, we have to have those system for onboard carbon capture and because we can't use as usual that biodiesel as a supplement to greener supplement to diesel. So those challenges are there. And methanol being liquid, though it has a lot of other effects harmful effect, but it is stopping and it is really moving very fast. It's also a solution for the coastal vessel today. So this is a screenshot for which are the countries at this moment leading, but we have all the countries and the number of vessels, and not necessarily the countries who are leading for some of those alternate fuels. They are not the maker of the IC engines. They are also not necessarily maker of the ships. It only means they have ordered for these ships. So they own these ships. But that not necessarily means that the technology is with them. So, but we have captured here the countries which are investing more for this kind of vessel, and we have all the data, as I said, for all the countries. So this is some very interesting, and we have done as a part of this the project under the ministry. So as we saw that we have to comply to that 70 and 24 and 1.7 with 2030, 2040 and 2070, we may get some flexibility for 10 more years because we have to have a lot of investment and all this. But finally, we have to have the long-term sustainability. So looking from that, very recently we have done these studies. So taking the total, we have done only for the overseas going vessel, barring the coastal vessel. So only that. So this is as a representative slides I am using. The same we are doing for the coastal, and later we'll do for the inland water. So if we look at this total consumption at this moment for the overseas going vessel, so if we want to come closer to 70, so what are the options India is having and which we can achieve actually with our feedstock kind of things. So these we have taken, there can be different kind of combination of the fuel. So when you say the methanol is transitioning, that does not mean that anyway we make the methanol and so that will comply to that 70 value. So today, because here we have to be very careful, today if we see that these GFI factors for these different fuels, this has come from calculation of this overall that LCA calculation, and when IMO has given these GFI factors. So maybe I'm just giving an example, like today one of the largest methanol producer is the Methanex. They make the methanol from the natural gas. So from that natural gas, the process, it is already commercial, that process, the overall LCA if we consider, it gets a GFI value which has been given that if we get this methanol this way, we get this GFI. But India don't have so much natural gas. So we may have to go for the bio-based methanol, that is the biomethanol, or the e-methanol, where even we can go to the synthesis, synfuel-based methanol, and where we can use the green hydrogen also. So that way, if we go, we may have a better GFI actually. So that is all the things we need to do very first for India. So definitely these fuels are there. So these IC engine makers are making. Maybe in India, it is not still available that IC engine makers for, especially for methanol and ammonia. But there is a transition happen, there is a capacity building, but how we can have with our kind of feedstock available and the technology, we can scale it up first where we can get maybe a better GFI than what is today is there. So that is where we have to look very carefully, and that gives a lot of hope for India. Both for the methanol as well for the ammonia, because we are developing a lot of ecosystem for green hydrogen. So these gives a lot of opportunity for India, though as I said that we are not making the IC engine, there are some factors, but we can definitely being a fuel producer. And so from that perspective, if we see that even 20, 30, 40 and 50, this is the kind of fuel mix and fuel availability, if we can have in India, we can very much actually touch this target, and sometime we can be in better placed also. Even for the base and strive. So we have done some representative value calculation. So this is for the e-methanol. So biomethanol and e-methanol again is showing that we can have a different percentage of mix with e-methanol. Just to give a value, like e-methanol GFI factor is around 29 if I remember rightly, and biomethanol is less, around 13. So for India, if we make that biomethanol or that GFI, it is better than e-methanol. But for ammonia, it is different. If we go to the next one, so for ammonia, if we see e-ammonia, there we are having a benefit, because it is again GFI value is around 12. So if we get that process ammonia with that GFI value, so we can very much achieve this kind of fuel combination to get that GFI value. So then I just conclude, and so with this that we though I have presented more for the overseas vessels, but similarly we are doing for the coastal. So we are having lot of, we have collected the data and analyzed that in our coastal vessel also there is a significant number of the vessels is younger, which is better for retrofitting. But again, the retrofitting for some of these fuels are almost as expensive as like having a new build. So what should be the strategy in those cases? If we want to move and all, so there are a lot of combinations are possible, and we have to, I'm presenting more from the fuel perspective. So with that perspective, it does not look very bleak. It still looks very hopeful if we go very right away of making our fuels. And with this kind of data and the technology upskilling, it really looks promising for India. So with that, I'll just close. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. We have a question, I believe. Since we're running short of time, we'll definitely take one question. Yes.
My question is to DP World. DP World is our facilitator here in the terminal under the Cochin port. I think that Cochin port team is here. So then I will not take much time, but this question is must for the coastal, so sorry for that. There is one priority berthing policy which says, priority berthing policy for coastal vessels has been notified to reduce turnaround time for coastal vessels and improve their utilization. But as a freight forwarder, nowadays when I'm talking to TCI or I'm talking to Shipping Corporation of India, they are saying that there is no berth availability in Cochin. So my question to is Dipin, that we have a priority berthing policy, then also why coastal vessels are still waiting? Because earlier, before 1 or 2 years, we have only traffic which was the coastal, but now we have some traffic because of the transshipment diverted from here. But we coastal is the major supporter of the DP World, and it is a request to DP World and Cochin Port to please implement this priority berthing policy for coastal vessels.
Both for coastal as well as the EXIM vessels as well. But that is also mainly to do with the delays or the off-schedule arrivals of vessels. As long as they come on schedule, and we are definitely, let's say, prioritizing the vessels which are on schedule. I mean, you can check with our customers also. And wherever possible, I mean, like, we are given priority for our regular callers over others. So that's something which is known to the trade as well, and we'll definitely look at your concern. I mean, that's something which we are addressing consistently with our customers also. And let's see how we can improve the situation.
Okay, thank you. If you support the priority berthing, sure, coastal cargo, the Cochin, the Kerala is the state where the 80% of the coastal container traffic is handling at our Kerala port. So if you will support 100%, we can manage our cargo and we can say that we divert some cargo from other nearby ports. So we need your support because this discussion will ye kabhi khatam nahi hoga. So we need your support and request to please accept the priority berthing, because when I am one of the part of the priority berthing, जब priority berthing policy बना मैं भी उसमें था, we are the part. So it is our request to implement the priority berthing if possible by the DP World. Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you, thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rahul Modi, for the question. In the interest of time, we are moving ahead. We'll move on before we.
Can I have
Oh,
a
yes,
question? Yeah, please.
definitely.
So I have one question, one quick query. Question is to Madam Priyali and Mishra ji from IRS. In immediate future, as far as GHG reduction is concerned in the maritime industry, from the coastal perspective, we see only two workable options. One is hybrid electric, which is for vessels which are proximity to the land where charging facilities are available. So those are tugs, like about 400 tugs we have. And that project is gaining traction. We are moving on it. But I hear so much about electrification ports everywhere. And pollution being a global or at least a national issue, I hope the grid that supplies the power will also be attended to. Otherwise, you have reducing one place pollution and other place it continues. But that's not the question. The question is the hybrid electric is one option for vessels in the proximity of the port. And the other option which is being worked is drop-in biofuel for vessels on coastal voyages, particularly short coastal voyages. So, Mishra sir, today the cap is 30% drop-in biofuel, as per as the guideline from the directorate. That's the guideline. She said that 30% maximum drop-in is allowed. And of course, that 30% is also when the makers and manufacturers of engineers approve that you can do it without any major modification. So we want to know that why is that 30% or is it going to be increased? I understand there are issues of calorific values, there are supply chain issues and the maker's approval. So the cap at 30% is for some reason?
I'll just answer you first. See, basically trial has been done up to B50 also. And basically blending by 50% also, it is not affecting the NOx parameter. You know, the only thing which can get altered is NOx parameter. But Canada has done up to 100% also. You know, and even I know, like here also, Adani, they have done up to 100%. But it is again supply of biofuel is concerned. You know, it's the main question is of supply chain. Otherwise, it is not changing NOx parameter up to 50%, it is not changing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. On that note, we are winding up this session. And before we move on, I would like all of you to give a loud round of applause for the 4 dignitaries who made extremely informative presentations. To present a memento to them, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. A. Selvakumar, Director, Inland Waterways Authority of India. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with a loud round of applause. And to receive the memento, may I first invite Mr. Dhruv Taneja, Founder and CEO, MatchLog Solutions Private Limited. Thank you so much, Mr. Dhruv Taneja, for your presence today. Thank you. I'd like to invite Mr. P.K. Mishra forward to receive the memento. Mr. P.K. Mishra, Managing Director, Indian Register Shipping. Thank you for joining us today. I'd now like to invite Dr. Priyali Das to receive the memento. Dr. Priyali Das, Associate Director, Pyrolytic Biofuels, Biochar and Green Chemicals. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. And Mr. Dipin Kayat, Senior Director of Operations and Engineering, DP World Cochin. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Dipin. May I request all of you to kindly pose for a photograph? Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Kindly join the audience now. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the next sessions, we've got 2 full sessions to go today. Before that, we have a 5 minutes presentation from Book My Port. Book My Port platform promoted by Vikram Rana Ports and Logistics Private Limited with the mission to boost coastal shipping in India. Book My Port offers platform that helps to move your cargo from one part of the country to the other. Book My Port offers full service to its customers through a single window approach. Vikram Rana Ports and Logistics Private Limited is backed by Economic Industries, which has grown to become the most sought-after organization to manage time-bound critical activities. To take the presentation, I would like to call on stage Mr. Abhay Rana, Director of Book My Port, to kindly come on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him on stage with a loud round of applause, Mr. Abhay Rana.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I am loud and clear. So, I am Abhay Rana, founder of Book My Port. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to talk about bookmyport.com. Because of time constraint, we will be covering only below topics in our presentation. That is about Book My Port, services we offer, why choose us, and Book My Port, the future of coastal shipping in India. We are proud to state that we are a startup specializing in coastal shipping sector. We are a division of Vikram Rana Ports and Logistics Private Limited, dedicated to revolutionizing coastal shipping and port management through technology and innovation. So you're working on various kind of technology tool that will actually help in shipyard management, port management, as well as to streamline coastal shipping. Our mission is to boost coastal shipping, inland waterways, and technology-driven port management services in India. We help to move your cargo from the origin to the port, connect cargo to the respective coastal ship, transport material from the destination port to the final destination, manage all documentation and handling of your goods at both the origin and destination port. All services are offered by a single window approach. Our application, that is bookmyport.com, is available on iOS device as well as Android device. You can even book your orders through website. Book My Port is a reliable partner in coastal shipping. We deliver cost-effective, transparent, and reliable service. These are some of the services which we offer. So it's coastal fleet management we do, warehousing at port. This is something new which we have actually started. And we plan to actually expand warehouses to all the major ports. Road and rail transportation. So we have our own in-house fleet of around 300 vehicles. We are basically starting a new division for charter vessels. Inland waterways, that's a focus area. Port terminal handling, stevedoring, and equipment on rent. We are one of the major players as well as equipment rental is concerned. Right now, not in the port domain, but for industries and manufacturers, we actually supply a lot of equipments. That is done by our sister concern. Why Book My Port? We are here to grow your business exponentially. We have some of the best industry experts guiding, managing, and supporting our customers. We have a strong network of warehouses and company-owned vehicles spread across the country. We have tie-up with most of the major shipping lines. We provide seamless, transparent, and dependable and cost-effective services. The booking process on our website, as well as application, is very simple. We actually provide a very transparent, simple, cost-effective, and the cost is definitely under the control. The differentiators are all services are under one roof. I have basically spent 1 year understanding about the coastal shipping. Unfortunately, see, if I talk about my experience, I have spent around 17, 18 years in warehousing, transportation, solution designing business. And what I felt 1 year back was I was not aware who are the major service providers as far as coastal shipping is concerned. I spent good 1 year to understand the industry. I could spend a lot of time at the ports understanding the service provider, how does this business work. What I personally feel is that we need to actually educate people, we need to educate customers. There are a lot of customers who are willing to actually go for coastal shipping, sea transportation over road and rail. But unfortunately, because of lack of knowledge or without understanding, they are not able to do it. So we are basically trying to provide all the services under one roof. So even a layman, a person who actually wishes to move the cargo, who has no knowledge about coastal shipping, they can come to our portal. We will guide them. Our experts will guide them. They will do the solution designing, tell them how to move, where to move. Even if you go to our portal and check any location, that is, let's say, from Mundra to Kochi or Mundra to Chennai, you'll find a set of actually vessels which are going to actually move in next 15 days, 20 days' time. People and management, we have a trained staff, standardized pricing. Our pricings are very competitive. We are customer focused. We provide a lot of visibility. We have a huge network. The service is definitely dependable. We have an experienced team, and we are technology based. We are working on various strategies as far as the coastal shipping business is concerned. And we proudly say that we are the future of coastal shipping in India. These strategies are basically to boost coastal shipping. Some of the strategies on which we are working includes developing infrastructure tailored to specific industries. Everyone talks about we have X volume, and we are managing this X volume since last 10 years or 12 years. And this is growing at a rate of maybe, say, 5% or 2% of the overall volume is increasing. But how are we going to increase this volume from X to Y? That is what we are working on. So we are working on infrastructure specific to sectors. Let's say, for example, there is sector A. We are developing those infrastructure, trying to work with ports to develop those infrastructure so that people can move from rail and road to sea. Encourage new business to explore coastal shipping and increase shipment volume from current users. The third is assist in reducing carbon emission. So carbon emission through sea route is far lesser, which everyone knows. And as a business owner, we have the responsibility to reduce carbon emission by promoting coastal shipping. Fourth point is ensure vessel owners receive sufficient cargo to make their operations profitable, attracting more corporate investments in vessels. We have a strategy to create an ecosystem that will attract investments in coastal shipping. And I firmly believe the success of coastal shipping totally depends on the success of vessel owners. Today, coastal shipping is suffering a lot because there are very few vessels. In fact, we have a lot of requirements, but unfortunately, the vessels are not available in that particular route. There are a lot of challenges. In fact, the delay is definitely, to a certain extent, is because of the unavailability of the vessels. So we feel that if the vessel owners make money, the entire industry moves forward. They're definitely one of the very important pillars. Fifth point is basically educate businesses about the benefits and challenges of coastal shipping. For customers to do apple-to-apple comparison, it is very important to actually provide knowledge to them, give knowledge to them. We have huge plans for that, wherein we want to educate people. In fact, we have been sending emails. We are actually talking to a lot of customers, telling them that even if they don't want coastal shipping or they didn't know about coastal shipping, we are there to give a small presentation and explain them that they can use this service in future. Our platform is up and running. We invite everyone to be a part of our growth journey. Feel free to connect with me for any support or feedback. I'm around, just let me know if you need any support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abhay Rana. Thank you so much for your presentation.